Hi, I'm Lisa Valentine Clark, and welcome to the Council of Moms. No kids allowed. We just talk about them.
Wow.
The Council of Moms, made with real moms.
That's right.
Love that. Yes.
And today we've got Lindsay, Whitney, and Ruth with us on this discussion. We're really cracking the code of this mom thing. One
Are we?
guided conversation at a time.
We're
Yes, we're
reaching
making
Nirvana.
progress, Lindsay. That's the whole thing.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
We're verbally processing things that matter.
Right?
The
As you're
Council of
talking, you're
Moms.
like, actually, no, yeah. That's not how I feel. So it's very good.
Unfiltered and ready to go, ready to
Mhm.
party. Today's discussion comes from one that's been happening in the Lisa Show and the Council of Moms social media community. So if you haven't checked that out, we're on Facebook and Instagram. We have YouTube has the Council of Moms as well. And we leave comments and things like that. And something that's been like bouncing around is this: how do you discipline different children differently?
Mhm.
So assuming you have more than one kid and you know that they're different, how do you adjust your parenting to parent them and discipline them in a different way? This is a big one.
Ugh.
And it's caused a lot of reflection for me because as an oldest daughter of 5, right? And I was the second oldest. I remember thinking, well, I'll never have a youngest kid who gets away with everything.
Never.
And never. And now I'm proud to
Join
say
the
that I
club.
am raising a youngest child.
Proud
She's the
to
only one at
report.
home. And I'm like, should we have ice cream for dinner? Should we?
Yes.
Should we go?
You should.
And my oldest daughter is just like, well. What's this?
Look.
What is happening here?
Ice cream for dinner, you would have
She's-
never, Mom.
Well, and that's just the
just the tip.
of the iceberg
Mhm.
for the
To be fair,
parenting. And
though.
the discipline of like, I mean, I really have had my older kids like over for Sunday dinner. They're adults, and they come over and they're like, you let Margaret, the youngest, do that? Or you would have never let us. And they tease me about
Totally.
it. So clearly I do discipline differently. I didn't think I would. Maybe halfway into my parenting, maybe about, I don't know, well, maybe just at the beginning, I thought, oh yeah, this is the Wild West. This is not going the way I thought it was gonna go.
Right?
Hold on. And the pony is galloping forward. That is parenting, and I'm trying to catch up. So I wish that I had a better, more concise plan about it. But my philosophy, has been adjusting as I go
Yeah.
for what is needed. And I'm trying to let go of that expectation that I had of how I wanted everything to be equal and fair,
Mhm.
and what that means. And I find that I've had to let that go several times during parenting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, is the question like, do you discipline differently, or is it how do you discipline
The
differently?
question
Both?
is, how do you do it? But
Wow, so
I
it's a
want to know,
given.
do you?
It's a
Mhm.
given that you do. Is that normal? Does everyone discipline their kids
I
differently?
don't think you can discipline the same because the
I don't
moment I
either.
try, one of my children will
Yeah.
protest.
Call you out. Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
It's not fair.
I thought you would call me out for disciplining differently. But I think the unfairness is that your personality is handling this differently. And I'm seeming to
Yes.
just put on a one size fits all on a very weird
Oh.
body. And it's like, Mom, my body isn't shaped like that. Why are you making me wear
Yeah.
this? I think that's how it feels.
I
Mhm.
need some examples, I think, because I
Yeah.
don't know if I do. I have 7 children.
Oh,
And I've been doing this for 22 years. I do think it's completely more. And I do have kids saying, my curfew was different, So I
Yeah.
know there's
Yeah.
different rules we have
Mhm.
now. I have to be way more explicit than I ever thought I did.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But I need more examples. I need to know. Like, how
Well,
do you
I
guys
think that's a good place to start.
different?
Like the rules. The
Yeah.
rules have changed, and I've cared about things differently, or
Yeah.
don't care about a lot of things.
You know what,
Because you do
Lisa?
get older and you
Yeah,
try,
yeah.
you just get tired of all the rules, and then you're like, okay, what really matters?
I will say though,
Mhm.
Lisa, as a fellow youngest child, Gemini, wonderful
Oh, here we go.
person,
Gemini.
Yes.
I think there is something to the idea that sometimes youngest kids really do pick up on a lot from their siblings, and they're like, oh, yeah, I see how that's a bad idea. And then they
Yeah.
just don't do it. And then naturally,
Yes.
the parents are like, wow, like
Wow.
what a great kid. Like they just get it. They just know. I don't know that it
They're
Yeah.
means
on
they're
they're on
better.
to you in a way that you didn't
Yeah.
anticipate. The older ones were like, I don't know. I remember when
Yeah.
my oldest kid, he's 26, almost 27 now. He's like, when I was in middle school, my bedtime was still 8:30.
Yeah.
And all of my kids went to bed. He's like, do you remember when I came to you like teary and be like, this? He had like a piece of paper. This is why I should go to bed at 9:30. And I was like,
No.
oh yeah. Oh, okay, sure. Like I hadn't even thought that might not be appropriate to go to bed at 8:30.
That's so true. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now literally last night, I said to my daughter, Margaret, who's 16, she's my youngest, I go, I'm so tired. I'm going to go to bed. And she goes, do you want me to tuck you in? But she
Yes.
wasn't kidding because sometimes she does tuck.
That's
I
so
was
cute.
10 and I was like, I
Oh.
give up. I'm going to bed. And
Yeah.
she's like, good. And then she said, I'll lock up. Don't worry.
Yeah. I'll button up the house. Don't you worry, Mom. I got this.
My, how the tables have turned.
Oh,
So how
So
about that
much.
example for you?
perfect. Exactly what I needed. It is so different though.
Yeah.
It's so different as you go through the kids. Things
Yeah.
change. Is that disciplining? Is that rules? Is that
I know. Well, I think the rules are related to the discipline, but
Yeah.
I'm curious to see, like, do you agree?
Well, I think you have to put into context when you're a new mom, it's your first baby, you're barely starting out. When you talk about parenting, you're also putting into the equation your own experience, right? Growing up, how you were parented. And it's a perpetual cycle where each generation is trying to do it better, which gives me like some grace where I'm like, I'm messing up some things. It's going to be fine. The kids are going to choose the things they love and not love. And then they're going to try to do it better next, when they're parents.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's, we're new, everything's, just, we don't know. And we have all these rules depending on, again, our experiences. And I just laugh at those videos or memes or whatever the younger generation calls them when they're
Yeah.
like, your first kid and you're so
GIF.
overprotective and doing all the things and buying all the things. And then your second, third, so forth, and you care less
Yeah.
Yeah.
as time goes on. So there's
Yeah.
a little bit, I think, of that naturally that does happen as you gain more experience, as you start to realize some of those things really don't matter or don't make a difference. But when it comes to disciplining, for me, it's like, again, what am I trying to teach them? What
Yeah.
is this discipline all about?
Yeah.
And it looks different, I think, for each of my children, again, developmentally and cognitively, how they would understand it or perceive it.
Yes.
But I also would say that because discipline, it's a touchy subject. It gets
is.
emotions going really high, especially when those cute kids that we gave birth to start talking back and doing all
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
Making me stay up past 10 p.m.
Gosh.
Well, I haven't reached that point yet, but I'm headed
the
there.
worst.
My gosh. The
Um,
worst.
but I've learned that disciplining and parenting is all about regulating my own emotions as I'm
Yeah.
handing out the consequences, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a believer of consequences as part
Absolutely.
of discipline, right? And being consistent. I think that's the key word there too, is consistency, depending on, again, what is the learning or what is the lesson I want them to learn. But just regulating my own emotions has been probably the hardest part of disciplining and
what a
keeping
great
myself
point.
in check.
Great point.
Oh, Ruth,
Yeah,
I feel like
that's
that.
perfect.
I feel so naked when you say something like that because I'm looking back on like all the moments that I'm interacting with my kids. And I do feel like, you learn more as you go on, but also like Lisa, when your oldest was in middle school, you're like both parents were still there. Like
Yeah.
there hadn't been a ton of stuff that had just shifted your guys' lives. Like the outward circumstances were different too. And then you even just look at like disposition and all of that. Like my oldest has ADHD and behaves probably like 3 or 4 years probably younger emotionally than what he is. But he is the oldest, right? Does that mean that he should get his own room because he's the oldest? I don't know if that's what it means, and my middle child is like, I mean, he's the middle child. He is a grown up. He is like Mr. Fair. Everything should be equal. And so sometimes it's like, well, this kid gets to stay up because he's later or because he's older. But this kid gets to stay up because he can show me that the next day it doesn't impact him as much when he loses sleep. And
So the consequences to those rules have to be different.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
I'm coming at it saying like, well, this kid has been annoying me all day, so I'm not going to let him stay up. That's when I need to recognize like, okay, there's some more weight coming into this, and it's a me thing. And sometimes I open my mouth and make give the consequence before I've checked myself. And that's when I maybe need to be a little bit okay being vulnerable in front of my kids and recognizing like, hey, I know I said this. I was really frustrated and I really want to slip in. I was frustrated because you did this, but I try not to. And I say, I was really frustrated. I was overwhelmed. I said this thing. In actuality, can we talk over this again? And usually that helps. Like, I feel like usually my kids are willing to be pretty flexible with me if I'm open about like, hey, I was overwhelmed and I said this. Let's actually talk through why this is a problem, and then we can come up with a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so smart. Yeah, I agree with both of those. That is amazing advice. And I think like now that I'm thinking of it, I don't know if I have disciplined different children differently, but because I have changed the way I discipline, that's why.
Okay.
And so
Interesting.
those first few children, it was very emotionally charged. I was disciplining out of anger. I mean, I just rode the roller coaster with my kids for years.
Yeah.
And
I
we've
just rode
all
it.
been there. We've
Yeah.
all been
Yeah.
there.
We've all been
And
there.
it's miserable. And
Yeah,
so
and it doesn't help.
it doesn't help at all. I would just get mad. And I felt like I was never an angry person or a yeller, but I found myself doing it. Like it just comes out of you because I would hop right on that roller coaster and just ride it with them. And so finally, just a few years ago, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have to take myself emotionally out of it. And I've learned some things that I've tried and it works so much better. I'm not great at it, and it is to be assertive. It's to be clear. It's to be direct, not to get on emotionally, aggressively, or passively, because I can't also passively be like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
And that's an
can't do that.
emotional approach too. It's fun to do that, but it doesn't work. And so like, I have to remind myself, like, get out of it emotionally, be assertive, be direct, be clear. I'm not going like head to head with them. I'm side by side, or we're making a smoothie together, or we're doing something. And it's more like, hey, I'm curious why you lied to me about this. Because I know you don't like acting like that. Like more, it's just direct. This is the facts of what happened. But it is so easy to be like, and you know how I feel about it. And I did this for you yesterday, just directly, this is what happened. I'm curious because that's not in your character. Why did you do that? And I try and be busy doing something because it distracts them. Whether we're going on a drive, we're doing something, it seems to be so much more helpful because I am too emotional. So for me, that's how it works, or else I get fired up and it's not good. So that's
I
my
love
goal.
that.
And it's working so much better, but it's hard.
Well, taking that emotion out of discipline, I think is such a great tip that I wish that I had had as a younger mom.
Oh,
I just did
know.
an interview for the Lisa show with someone who was talking about the same thing, like when you're having really difficult conversations with someone to say, and this was in the context of like compulsive behavior or addiction. And so it could be with your spouse, your kids, with anybody. But just to say very clearly, just like you just said, Lindsay, I know what the facts are. I'm sure that there's more information. We don't have to have that conversation right now, but we're
Yeah.
going to have the conversation
Yeah.
to let everybody just sort of regulate their emotions before you go and revisit it. And
Yeah.
so, and that I've been thinking about that. And you brought up a really good point, Lindsay, about how it's changed as you've changed your approach, like emotionally. And I think that as I've gotten older and dealt with harder things, I realized that discipline can't be the same thing for the same person because context matters so much. And sometimes a kid is breaking a rule or because, and the reason why is very important. Sometimes their mental health is not okay and they're
Yeah.
trying to self-regulate in dangerous and harmful ways.
Yeah.
And that's why they're breaking the rule. And sometimes they're breaking the rule because they're bored. And sometimes they're breaking the rule because they want you to feel something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all three of and there's other reasons too. And all three require a different approach. I read this really great book about called Original Grace by Adam Miller. And it talks a lot about, and because as a woman of faith, like I think, how should I treat these are God's children too, and me, and it makes me think of like, repentance and discipline. You're trying to sort of model how they feel about these spiritual things, right? Like they are connected. And the whole idea behind this is when we talk about grace, do we talk about like justice, no matter what, one size fits all, or are we asking for a restoration of something? Like what's needed? Is someone comes to you, they're breaking a rule. What do they need?
Yeah.
Do they need to know how serious this is because they don't have a concept of reality?
Yeah.
Do they need love and acceptance, knowing that no matter what they do, that you will always love them, that is different? Like I had a kid do something quite serious and break a rule of our house and a rule of the law of the land.
Ooh, love those.
Oh yeah. We've had a few of those too. It's fun.
And that's as specific as I'll get here at the Council of Moms. And when we talked about what's going on,
Yeah.
my heart absolutely broke. And what was needed at that time in that kid's life with our circumstances was that kid was hurting and didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And was absolutely depressed. That it was quite scary and alarming. What they didn't need was, I'm taking away your phone and you're grounded. They didn't care.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was not, and that would have been an appropriate discipline for another kid. It wasn't even in the same universe for appropriate discipline for that kid at that time. And I always think about how what was needed there was extra love and attention and some other things that and I look back and I thought, and I still think that's what was needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to be curious.
It
of the
wasn't
why.
fair. It wasn't fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it was needed.
But it was be curious of the why they broke the
Absolutely.
rule.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But don't tell the kids that.
No. Keep that under wrap.
Council of Moms, no kids allowed.
There it is again. Don't forget.
Kids catchy. I love it.
It is.
Thanks.
I do think what you bring up too, of just like, but don't tell the kids. I know, at least in my phase right now, a lot of the discipline is pretty public because it's usually rules that are getting broken in the house. In like it's just a fishbowl right now. I have 3 boys ages 8, 7, and 6. And it's
Wow.
they really are just basically the same stage. And so it was
Lord
mostly
of the Flies stage.
Yes.
Sorry.
Wow.
I don't mean to project.
no, it's accurate. But and so I do have one kid, like it is my middle child, and he will say, like with one child, I'll say, oh my goodness, like he ate, like I had a kid who came downstairs yesterday, who like woke up early and took a treat from our pantry because he thought no one was awake. I was awake. I was downstairs working out. not normally do I go downstairs that early, but I had more appointments that day. So I just happened to see these little pitter patters going into our pantry. And I'm thinking, how often does he do this? Right?
Yeah.
So of course, my knee-jerk reaction is like, no treats for the week. You take as many treats as you want when I'm not around. You've betrayed this. But in the context, like you said, he has also been having some trouble at school. He has been having, like, physically, he's been more anxious. He's been having more tummy problems. And I've just been looking at this whole thing. So me, I'm like, all right, I'm texting his therapist. I'm like, that's what we're going to do right now. Because I want to figure out, like, what does he need right now? And what's he going through? And how can we help? My middle child, though, when it comes time after school, they usually get what we call a making bed treat, which means, like, if you have done all of your chores in the morning before school, after school, you get a treat. And he got a treat and then looked over and saw his brother and said, hold on, he already got a treat. Why is he getting a treat today? Every time, Lisa, every time he'll say, well, so-and-so got a treat this big and I'm only getting a treat this big. It is always, is it equal? Is it equal? Is it equal?
Is it bad that I'm that kid?
We need them all. We need them all.
I'm trying to break myself of it.
Good.
I get it. And he does sometimes check us when he's like, no, actually, he already had a treat. And we're like, oh, thank you. We didn't realize that. Like,
Yeah.
okay. But it's become one of those things where I'm recognizing, like, all right, what's he telling me right now?
Yeah.
He's telling me he doesn't feel appreciated for, he's the older brother of the prodigal son. And so if we're looking at original grace here and we're looking in this context, he's saying, well, I deserve this because I followed the rules the whole time. And so if we can communicate, like, you all deserve love. You each of you deserve this. Right now, I can see this is what you need. It's not, we don't up your candy intake. We don't say, then you get 2 treats today because he got to have 2 treats today. I don't yet know the total answer to it, but we are working on it.
Yeah, I love the struggle.
I like that. I think that something you said, like that knee-jerk reaction, is to just tighten up, right? And I mean, I think there is a time and place for that, but I'm learning that's actually not working with my kids. Yeah. You came home late, phone's taken away, or you looked at something bad on your phone, phone's gone, right? Like, just tighten up. And it's almost the opposite. It's that, like, okay, why? Like, be curious. Let's actually not loosen up, but I don't know. It is,
But let's
and
have that
it's
conversation.
It's
Yeah,
such a natural
it's harder.
reaction. It's
It's
a natural
harder.
reaction to just tighten up. And I don't think that's always the most helpful thing.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. Communication is I've learned it's not easy, but it's really so important. And I mean, even thinking about this morning, to be as real and authentic as I can be,
Yes, please.
getting to school, right, is a struggle.
Always. Why?
And I'm like trying to get myself put together because I've got to go to work. I got to get the kids going. I've got to get their lunches. I've got to, there's so many moving pieces. And I have, my third daughter who was just struggling and tends to struggle in the morning, but today was just extra. Throwing things, yelling at just veins popping out. We were so dysregulated, right? And I'm trying to not ignore her because that is a emotional response too, but trying to be assertive, trying to keep myself calm, trying to let her know we've got to leave by this time. You've got 5 minutes. We've got 4 minutes, and just trying to guide her. And, she ended up getting not having her shoes on, having to get her shoes, rushing, just chaos. This morning was chaos, and I'm just trying to stay in the zone.
Yeah.
And we get to drop off, and I realize, she realizes first that she has 2 shoes of the same side.
Oh, no.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
So I take deep breaths.
Yep.
Yeah.
As I and that's how I avoid when Lindsay, you're talking about, and Whitney too, that knee jerk. For me, I have to take some breaths. I have to regulate. I have to something to pause my next move
Yeah.
so that it doesn't just become
Blow up.
reactive,
Yeah.
a reaction to something that just happened, but I've thought through it.
Mhm.
I
so
love this.
So I said, she's like, Ma, just screaming at me. And I said, I'll be right back. And I took the other kids, dropped them off, came back to the car. I said, we're going home. We're going to go get your shoes,
Yeah.
and through the 5 minutes back to the house, it was complete silence in the car. And I was just like, again, breathing. What am I going to do? How am I
Yeah.
going to discipline this kid? This can't happen on the regular. How am I going to change this behavior? As I'm thinking all of this and we get home, the next question she asks me is, Mom, do you hate me? And it was really interesting for me just to see how kids, especially in those high emotional stakes, go to or tie that to their self-worth,
Right?
right? Am I lovable still, even though I'm acting like this? And I said, I will always love you. I do not hate you. It is hard when, the mornings are like this, but I want to understand better how or why, what's happening. Help me understand so I can better help you. But it was a reminder to me again that deep down, there is a why. There's a reason for the behavior, and avoiding that knee-jerk reaction can help us to get there instead of just disciplining out of reaction or being
And it
reactive.
can get us
to the
to
discipline.
better, deeper conversations
Yes.
with our
Absolutely.
kids.
Absolutely.
And again, it's uncomfortable,
It is.
but it causes us to have more empathy and deep love and connection with our kids, which is why we don't want to discipline them so that they're trained monkeys on how to behave in public. And yes, you did it. You did it right. Check, gold star. But to just lay all of our cards out and say, we want you to be a happy, functioning member of society that does good and develops your talent. Like these are all this for this behavior, but engaging them in that conversation is harder, but it also makes better stories.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's funner too.
Absolutely.
Once again, a great discussion on the Council of Moms about how we can be better moms, but also show up for each other in it. I know that this is a one of those topics that's hard to talk about with other moms because it shows your weaknesses and leaves you open to be judged too as well. But my pitch for sharing these stories with your own Council of Moms or here on the Council of Moms, like and subscribe on YouTube too, don't forget, is that with enough time, a lot of these stories are really funny. In the moment, I know they're so emotionally charged. I have a similar story, Ruth, where I was like, come on, get in the car. And my kids did to drop off in snow. My kid walks out with socks. I go, where are your shoes? And he's like, you said we were in a rush and it was time to go. Like, you're...
Deep breath.
Yep. Deep breath. At the time, not so funny. Now, literally 20 years later, super funny. So there's my pitch. Council of Moms. It works.
It works.
Share. We need more moms in our community. So send this to a mom who you feel like could use it. Thanks to my Council of Moms, Lindsay, Whitney, Ruth. Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.